The water never argues with the rocks. It does not resist. It does not complain. It flows. It moves over, under, and around every obstacle in its path. It knows that even the hardest stone cannot stand forever against its persistence. Over time, the rock changes shape, and the water remains free. Florence Scovel Shinn understood that prosperity is like this. It flows naturally when you remove resistance, when you stop standing in its way, when you clear the inner dams you may not even realize are there. And just as water cleanses the body, it can cleanse the unseen spaces in your mind, your emotions, and your energy field, dissolving what blocks the arrival of money and opening channels for abundance to pour in. Imagine standing beside a quiet river at dawn. The mist is still hovering above the surface, and the sunlight is only beginning to touch the ripples. You hear nothing but the soft lapping of water against the bank. This is the sound of timeless movement, movement that existed before you were born and will continue long after you are gone. This is the sound of flow. And within that flow lies a message: nothing is ever truly stuck. No matter how tangled your circumstances may seem, life has a current that can carry you into a new reality. The question is not whether the current exists, but whether you have opened the channel for it to reach you. Today, I will show you how to transform a simple glass of water into a prosperity tool. Not as a superstition, not as a trick, but as a living symbol of flow and renewal. You may have water in front of you right now without realizing that it can become the very thing that shifts your financial reality. It has always been here, in your home, in your body, in the very air you breathe, waiting for you to give it direction. Because in the same way water reflects the image above it, it also reflects the vibration you place within it, the words you speak, the intentions you hold, and the emotions you infuse can transform ordinary water into a current carrying your prosperity to you. Think about the fact that water has memory. Science is only beginning to understand what spiritual traditions have taught for thousands of years, that water absorbs and stores the vibrations it encounters. In ancient cultures, water was blessed before ceremonies, used to anoint leaders, and carried from sacred springs to homes where it was kept for protection and healing. In those traditions, water was never just water. It was a living witness to the words spoken over it. Florence knew that when you speak into water with faith, you are not simply talking to liquid, you are programming a messenger. That messenger will travel into your body when you drink it, into your environment when you sprinkle it, into your field when you keep it close. Now, let's speak of the real blocks. Financial lack is rarely just about the absence of money. More often, it is about the presence of something else: fear, doubt, resentment, guilt. These are heavy sediments at the bottom of your inner stream, clouding the water and slowing the flow. They whisper that you are undeserving, that you will fail, that wealth is dangerous or corrupting. And like silt settling in a river, they can build up so gradually that you don't notice until the current is barely moving. But water teaches us that no obstruction is permanent. It finds cracks. It seeps through. It wears down even the strongest walls. With the right intention, you can let water carry away what no longer serves you. I want you to picture this moment. You stand in your kitchen, a clear glass of water in your hand. Light catches the surface, and for a second, it looks like liquid crystal. You breathe slowly. You speak into it, not loudly, not desperately, but with the steady authority of someone who knows their words matter. You say, "I release every block. I allow abundance to flow to me now." The water hears you. Yes, it hears. And when you drink, you are not only hydrating your body, you are aligning your entire being with a higher stream. Florence often said that the spiritual always precedes the material. Before money appears in your hand, It must first exist in your vibration. Before opportunity knocks, it must first be drawn toward you by the tone you hold. This is why a ritual like this works. You are not begging for prosperity. You are embodying it. You are placing its pattern into the water and letting that pattern fill you. If you are new here, I invite you to subscribe so you can walk with us as we explore the principles of Florence Scovel Shinn and put them into action in real life. And for those who have been touched by these teachings, you can now support this channel through the thanks button, which YouTube calls super thanks. It doesn't matter if it's $1 or $2. Every seed is received and directed into the field of prosperity, and it will return to you multiplied. You can also become a channel member to help us continue this work and keep sharing these powerful principles with the world. And I will say this, prosperity is not about a single ritual or a single moment. It is about a relationship you build with the flow of life. It is about learning to trust the current, even when you cannot see what lies beyond the next bend. Just as rivers carve valleys over centuries, your faith and practice carve new pathways for abundance to reach you. There may be days when the flow feels slow, when the surface is still, and you wonder if anything is happening at all. But underneath, the water is moving. It is always moving. We are about to begin a journey into the heart of this practice. We will explore not just the how, but the why, the spiritual mechanics that make something as simple as water a powerful ally in your financial transformation. Once you see the connection, you will never look at a glass of water the same way again. So breathe deeply, take this moment to clear your mind and prepare to step into the current. Let us continue. There is a story I must tell you, because it shows in living color what happens when you decide to work with the flow instead of against it. It begins with a woman named Evelyn. She was not wealthy. In fact, she was struggling in a way that felt bone deep. Bills piled up on her kitchen counter like unwelcome guests who refused to leave. The sound of her phone made her heart race, because too often it was a collector calling. She had learned to live in survival mode, always calculating, always cutting corners, always telling herself she just needed to get through one more month. And then one evening, she stumbled upon a passage from Florence Scovel Shinn's writings that said, "Your word is your wand." It wasn't just about what you said to others. It was what you spoke into the universe itself. The words you send out are seeds, and they must bring forth after their kind. Evelyn didn't have money to buy special tools. She didn't have connections, influence, or luck as the world defines it. But she had a glass of water, and she had her voice. And so she began. Each morning, before she reached for her phone, before she looked at the day's demands, she would pour herself a glass of water, hold it in her hands, and speak into it. At first, her voice trembled. "I am open to receive abundance. I drink in prosperity now." She felt foolish, but she did it anyway. She drank slowly, imagining the water carrying those words into every cell of her body. She pictured her bloodstream as a network of glowing rivers, carrying prosperity to every corner of her life. The first week, nothing seemed to happen. The bills were still there, the phone still rang, but she kept going. She spoke into the water with a little more certainty each time. She began to notice her posture changing as she held the glass. Shoulders back, chin lifted, as if her body knew it was addressing something sacred. By the third week, something shifted. A job she had applied for months earlier and forgotten about called her back. They had an unexpected opening and wanted to interview her. It wasn't just any job. It was exactly the kind of position she had once dreamed of but never thought she could get. She got the job. Her income doubled. And within 6 months, she had not only paid off her debts, but started saving. When she tells the story now, she doesn't say the water itself was magic. She says the magic was in what it became when she combined it with her words, her faith, and her willingness to keep showing up for the ritual. The water was her witness. It carried her intention into her own subconscious, day after day, until the belief that she was meant to struggle simply dissolved. She didn't just speak into the water, she spoke into her own being, and her being changed. This is the power of aligning the physical with the spiritual. A glass of water is not an expensive altar, but in its simplicity lies its strength. Florence knew that prosperity rituals do not need to be complicated. In fact, the more direct they are, the more they speak to the subconscious mind. Water is pure, receptive, and ready to take on whatever vibration you offer it. And when you drink it, you are affirming that you have already received what you asked for. You are taking prosperity into yourself, not as a wish, but as a fact. Some might wonder, isn't this just positive thinking? But it is more than that. This is the deliberate charging of a physical element with spiritual power, the way ancient priests and priestesses would bless oil, bread, or wine before offering it. The act itself creates a bridge between realms, and the longer you walk that bridge, the more solid it becomes. What begins as a fragile thought becomes a current of energy so strong that it rearranges the circumstances of your life to match it. And I want you to understand this. Your current situation is not permanent. It may feel heavy, fixed, immovable, but so did the boulders in a river before the water wore them smooth. Every glass of water you speak into is like sending another wave against those stones. Eventually, the stones give way. You do not need to know how, and you do not need to control the timing. You only need to keep the water moving. If you have been following this channel for a while, you know that I rarely ask for anything in return for these teachings. But if this message resonates with you, if you feel its value, you can now use the thanks button, what YouTube calls super thanks, to support the work we are doing here. Whether it's $1 or more, it is a seed you plant, not just in this channel, but in your own field of giving and receiving. And if you feel called, you can also become a channel member, which is another way to help sustain these messages so that they can reach more people who need them. We are going to go deeper into the why and the how of this water ritual. Not just the physical steps, but the energetic truth that makes it so effective. I want you to feel the shift even before you see it, so that when the changes arrive, you recognize them not as coincidences, but as the direct harvest of what you have been planting. The current is already here, waiting to carry you forward. Let's step into it together. Let us continue. Before we speak of the ritual itself, I want you to understand something profound. When you hold a glass of water in your hands, you are not holding a simple drink. You are holding a living mirror to your consciousness. Water is formless by nature. It takes the shape of whatever holds it. And in the same way, your life takes the shape of whatever beliefs hold you. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn taught that every outward act should be rooted in an inward knowing. Without belief behind it, a ritual is just empty motion. But with belief, even the smallest action becomes a force that moves mountains. Think about it. How many times have you poured a glass of water without thought, without awareness, letting it be a mechanical habit? Now imagine pouring that same water with the awareness that it is about to carry your words into the deepest layers of your mind and into the invisible field where every outcome begins. This is the shift we make when we treat water not as a thing, but as a partner in creation. Picture the scene. It's early morning. The world is quiet, the air still, the light soft. The day ahead has not yet taken shape. It waits for you to decide what it will be. You walk slowly to where your water is kept. You choose your glass with care, not because the glass is magical, but because you are signaling to your subconscious that this moment matters. You pour the water slowly, listening to the steady sound of it filling the glass. Each drop becomes part of a silent agreement between you and the divine, that what you speak here will echo far beyond this moment. You wrap your hands around the glass, feeling the coolness of the water, the texture of the surface. Your palms begin to warm it slightly, and in your mind, you imagine that warmth as light moving from your skin into the water itself. You close your eyes, not to shut out the world, but to open the inner vision. You see yourself living in the reality you are about to declare. You see the bills paid, the invitations accepted, the freedom to say yes without fear. You feel the relief, the gratitude, the joy, as if it has already happened. In this moment, you are not asking for something to come. You are aligning with what already belongs to you. Then you speak. Your words are not a request. They are a command issued from the highest authority, the authority of your own divine connection. Florence would say, "Speak the word, and the law will fulfill it." You choose phrases in the present tense, for the subconscious only works in the now. You might say, "I am overflowing with abundance. Money flows to me easily and in perfect ways." You might say, "I live in constant supply, and every door I need opens for me now." Your voice is steady, deliberate. You are not trying to convince anyone, you are simply declaring truth. As the words leave your mouth, imagine them entering the water. See the sound as ripples of light moving into every molecule. You might even sense a subtle shift in the way the water feels in your hands. This is not imagination in the sense of fantasy. It is imagination in the sense of creation. Science has shown that water can form patterns based on sound and intention, and while skeptics may debate, those who practice know the results are undeniable. You are programming this water with a living code, and when you drink it, you merge that code with your body, making it a part of you in the most literal way. Now you drink, not quickly, not carelessly, but with a sense of reverence. Feel each sip entering your mouth, sliding down your throat, and moving into your bloodstream. Let the awareness follow it. I am filled with abundance. I am nourished by supply. In that moment, the ritual becomes complete. But here's the part most people forget. The moments after the ritual are just as important as the ritual itself. Once you've spoken and drunk, you must release. You don't grasp at the desire. You don't look for immediate proof. You don't keep checking the how. You go about your day as if the thing you declared is already on its way, because it is. This is the vibration of faith. Faith is not hoping, it is knowing. Florence used to say that the spoken word, once sent forth, sets in motion the very events that will bring your desire into form. Your only job is to keep your vibration aligned with the reality you have spoken. Doubt is like pouring ink into clear water. It clouds the purity of your creation. So you protect that clarity. You speak with conviction, you drink with trust, and you walk with the assurance that the law is working on your behalf. I remember a man named Samuel who had been stuck in a job for over a decade, underpaid, overworked, and constantly told that times were tough. He had resigned himself to struggle. He tried this ritual not because he believed in it, but because he felt he had nothing to lose. On the third day, something changed. As he held the glass and spoke his words, he felt an unshakable certainty rise within him, a quiet knowing that his circumstances were temporary. That afternoon, he updated his resume for the first time in years. A week later, he received a call from a friend about a position that hadn't even been posted publicly. He applied, was interviewed, and offered the job at double his previous salary. He later told me that the true miracle wasn't the job offer. It was the moment he stopped seeing himself as trapped. And that shift, he believed, began the instant he held that glass and declared his worth out loud. Your ritual can be as simple or as elaborate as you wish. You can add candles, soft music, or silence. You can stand in the sunlight or sit in the dark. You can use tap water, filtered water, or rainwater collected in a jar. None of those details matter more than the energy you bring. The ritual works because you choose to make it sacred, and the water responds to your choice. Do this in the morning to set the tone for your day, or at night to let your subconscious carry it into the dream world where creation takes root. If possible, speak your declaration aloud. Let your voice be the instrument that carries the vibration. If you must be silent, speak it in your mind, but do so with the same conviction as if you were declaring it to the whole world. The key is not the volume, it is the certainty. And remember, this is not a chore to be checked off. It is an act of devotion to yourself, an honoring of your divine right to prosper. When you hold that glass, you are holding more than water. You are holding the reflection of a life that is already yours in the unseen. Each sip is a reminder that you are not powerless, that you are not waiting for the world to change. You are shaping it from the inside out. We are not finished. There is more to uncover about why this practice bridges the gap between thought and manifestation, and why water has been revered as a sacred element in spiritual traditions for thousands of years. The surface may seem calm, but the current beneath is already moving you toward a reality richer than you've dared to imagine. Let us continue. Florence Scovel Shinn often spoke of the truth that nothing in your outer world changes until the inner pattern shifts. And she knew that the most effective way to shift the inner pattern was not through force, not through endless striving, but through alignment. Alignment is not something you do once. It is a living state you maintain. And water, more than almost any other element, reflects back the state you are in. When you look at water, you see clarity or cloudiness, stillness or movement, reflection or distortion. In the same way, your life reflects the tone of your inner consciousness. The ritual of water for prosperity is not just about bringing money. It is about bringing your whole self into resonance with the frequency of abundance so that money has no choice but to appear. Imagine ancient temples, quiet and cool, where initiates would come to prepare for sacred ceremonies. In the center of the chamber, a basin of pure water would stand, often surrounded by symbols of the sun, the moon, and the stars. The water was not there for drinking alone. It was there to receive the spoken word, to be infused with prayer, to carry blessings. Civilizations that flourished for centuries understood that water could act as a messenger between the physical and the spiritual. When Florence wrote about the Word becoming flesh, she was echoing this same truth, that sound, thought, and intention impress themselves onto matter, and water is one of the most receptive forms of matter we know. Science, in its own language, is only beginning to catch up to this. Researchers have observed how water molecules can form intricate crystalline structures when exposed to loving words, harmonious sounds, or uplifting images, and how they become chaotic and broken when exposed to words of hate or fear. Whether you see this as spiritual truth or quantum resonance, the result is the same. Water listens, it remembers, and when you drink it, its memory becomes part of you. This is why the water ritual is so potent for prosperity. It allows you to literally ingest your declaration, to carry it in your blood, to let it feed your cells. Let me share a story that Florence herself might have delighted in. A woman named Evelyn had been in debt for years. She had read every book she could find, taken every practical step, but nothing seemed to move. Her income was steady, but small, and every time she made a little progress, an unexpected expense would knock her back. One evening she stumbled upon the idea of the water ritual. It sounded too simple to work, but something in her, perhaps that last spark of hope, said to try. She poured a glass of water, held it in both hands, and said aloud, "I am fully provided for. My debts dissolve like sugar in this water." She drank it slowly, imagining each swallow washing away the heaviness of owing. She did this every morning and night, not as a desperate plea, but as a quiet affirmation that something was already shifting. Within 6 weeks, she received a settlement from a legal matter she had long forgotten about. It was enough to clear every debt and leave her with a small cushion. But more than that, she said, the ritual had changed how she felt. Lighter, freer, as if the weight had been lifted before the money even arrived. This is the heart of the work. You are not trying to make something happen. You are aligning with the truth that it already exists for you. Water becomes your ally in this because it is the perfect conductor. It takes your words into itself, carries them into you, and reminds you throughout the day of the reality you have spoken. Florence would often say, "Do not be fooled by appearances. They are only the result of yesterday's beliefs." The water ritual is a way of planting new beliefs today, so that tomorrow's appearances can change. Now, let us talk about flow. Money, like water, must move. If it stagnates, it loses life. If you hoard it out of fear, you create a dam that blocks new inflow. But when you allow it to circulate, when you give, spend, and receive with gratitude, you keep the current alive. This is why, as part of your water ritual, it is wise to also bless the act of giving. When you take a sip, you can affirm not only that you are receiving, but that you are a joyful conduit for prosperity. Say to yourself, "As this water flows into me, so my wealth flows through me to bless others." In this way, you remove the fear of lack, because you place yourself in the role of an abundant source, not a desperate seeker. I have known people who have transformed their entire relationship with money through this one change in perspective. A man named Harold, for instance, was always anxious about spending. Even when he had enough, he lived in a constant low-level panic that it might run out. He began incorporating into his water ritual the declaration, "I release money with joy, and it returns to me multiplied." At first, it felt uncomfortable, as if he were tempting fate. But over time, the words sank in. He began to notice that every time he spent without fear, something unexpected would return to him. A refund check, a new client, a gift. The rhythm of giving and receiving became as natural to him as breathing. And the water, he said, helped him anchor this in his body, not just his mind. You see, the ritual is more than symbolic. It is somatic. You are not only thinking new thoughts, you are feeling them, speaking them, and ingesting them. This engages every level of your being, which is why it works so deeply. When your mind, your words, your emotions, and your body are all saying the same thing, the universe responds swiftly. Florence called this speaking the word and acting as if. The water ritual is a way of acting as if, in a form so tangible that even the most skeptical part of you can participate. And here is something important. Consistency builds power. You would not expect to plant a seed and see a tree the next morning, yet many abandon their declarations after only a few days, claiming it didn't work. But every sip, every spoken word is another seed. Some sprout quickly, others take time, but all respond to the care you give them. When you treat this as a sacred appointment with yourself, a daily meeting with your own highest truth, you will find that the energy builds. There will be mornings when you feel a sudden surge of certainty, afternoons when a small sign appears, evenings when gratitude rises unbidden. These are not accidents. They are evidence that the law is in motion. Florence believed that gratitude was the bridge between the invisible and the visible. So as you finish your water each time, let your last thought be one of thanks. Not thanks that it will happen, but thanks that it has already happened in the unseen. This seals the vibration and sends it out with clarity. The clearer the signal, the faster the return. When you understand this, you no longer perform the ritual out of need. You perform it out of joy. You look forward to it the way one looks forward to greeting a beloved friend. The glass becomes a symbol of partnership between you and the divine, a reminder that you are never alone in your creation. And as the days pass, you will notice that the changes come not only in your bank account, but in your heart. You will find yourself saying yes more often, standing taller, meeting life with open hands instead of clenched fists. This, my friend, is the true prosperity Florence spoke of. Not just money, but the freedom to live without fear. And as you continue, something else happens. Others will notice. They may not understand the ritual, but they will see the light in your eyes, the calm in your voice, the ease in your movements. They will ask what you've been doing, and you can choose to share or simply smile, knowing that your life has become the proof. Because in the end, the water ritual is not about convincing anyone. It is about embodying the truth until it speaks for itself through every part of you. We will go deeper still into how this practice dismantles the oldest patterns of lack and replaces them with patterns of abundance, so natural they feel like they've always been there. But first, take a moment now, right now, to remember the last time you felt completely provided for. Hold that memory gently and know that what you are calling in with this ritual is not a new miracle. It is the return to a state you were always meant to live in. There is a truth that Florence Scovel Shinn wove into every teaching. The outer circumstances you face are nothing more than the crystallized patterns of past thought and feeling. They are echoes, not origins. To change them, you must go to the wellspring, to the point before form takes shape. This is why the water ritual holds such potency. Water itself is formless until it takes on the shape of its container, just as the raw substance of life is formless until your consciousness shapes it. And when you speak over water, when you impress upon it the vibration of abundance, you are shaping the invisible before it becomes visible. Think for a moment about the nature of a block. It is not truly solid. It is an energy, a belief, a repeated agreement you made with limitation. Most people have no idea they made such agreements. They inherited them in childhood, absorbed them from their culture, or adopted them through moments of pain. These agreements then become the architecture of their lives. The most dangerous ones are not even spoken aloud. They live in the subconscious, quietly directing every decision, every reaction, every expectation. Florence called them false pictures in the subconscious mind. They operate like a current beneath the surface, pulling you toward lack even when you consciously row toward prosperity. When you bring water into the equation, something extraordinary happens. You are using a living element that is itself constantly in motion, never fixed, never stagnant unless trapped. It can erode stone, carve valleys, and carry whole ships. It responds to the slightest vibration. This makes it the perfect ally for dissolving those invisible agreements. You can speak into the water the truth you wish to live, and as you drink it, you are symbolically and physically washing the old pictures away. Every swallow becomes an act of release. Every sip, a cleansing wave that erases the hidden contracts with poverty. Let us go deeper into the practice. Before you begin, understand that you are not asking for something to happen. You are commanding the law to reveal what already is. Florence said, "Man can only receive what he sees himself receiving. If you keep seeing yourself as blocked, struggling, or barely getting by, then that is what you will receive. But if you can see yourself as already prosperous, already free, already standing in the middle of your answered prayer, the law has no choice but to make it so. This is the frequency you infuse into the water." I recall the story of a man named Arthur, who carried the belief that money only came through hard struggle. His father had repeated it to him for years, and it had settled deep into his bones. No matter how much he earned, the money always came with exhaustion, stress, and a sense of barely surviving. When he learned of the water ritual, he approached it with skepticism, but also with a quiet desperation for change. He began by holding a glass of water each morning, speaking into it. "Money flows to me easily, in perfect ways, without toil." He drank it slowly, letting the words sink in like seeds into fertile soil. At first, nothing seemed to happen, except that he noticed he was less tense during his workday. Then an unexpected opportunity arose, a freelance project that paid more in 1 month than his main job paid in 3. The work was enjoyable, almost effortless. More offers followed, each one smoother than the last. Arthur said later that the ritual had not just changed his income, it had broken the link between money and suffering in his mind. This is the alchemy of the practice. Water carries your declaration past the critical mind, directly into the deep layers where those old agreements live. And because you repeat it daily, you are constantly replacing the old pattern with the new. The subconscious does not resist repetition. It absorbs it. This is why negative beliefs take root so easily when repeated over years, and why positive, empowered beliefs can replace them if you are consistent. Every glass of water becomes both a baptism and a reprogramming. In time, you will notice the blocks beginning to dissolve, sometimes in ways you could not have planned. You might find debts suddenly reduced or cleared. You might encounter someone who offers you an opportunity that had seemed out of reach. Or you might simply find yourself saying yes to things you would have once refused out of fear. This is not magic in the sense of breaking natural law. It is magic in the sense of working with the law consciously instead of unconsciously against it. And as the blocks dissolve, something else happens. The flow increases. Money, ideas, connections, and opportunities begin to circulate more freely in your life. You no longer have to push so hard. This is the stage where many people feel a strange unease, because they are not used to ease. Do not let that unease pull you back into old habits. When you notice things getting easier, bless the ease. Speak over your water. Ease is my natural state. I am safe in abundance. This will anchor the new reality until it becomes second nature. Florence often reminded her students that the universe loves order, and part of order is flow. Water that moves stays fresh. Water that stagnates becomes foul. So too with money. If you have been holding on tightly out of fear, let the water ritual teach your body the feeling of release. As you drink, imagine that you are not just taking in abundance, you are allowing it to pass through you, to circulate, to multiply. When you release money with joy, you prove to the law that you trust its return, and the law answers in kind. It is also important to note that this ritual is not confined to a single moment in the day. You can carry its essence with you everywhere. Every time you drink water, you can silently affirm your truth. Even a quick sip at your desk or in the kitchen can become a moment of alignment. In this way, the ritual ceases to be a task and becomes a lifestyle, a constant, gentle reminder that you are the architect of your own prosperity. Some may ask, is it really the water that does this? The answer is that the water is a partner, not a servant. It is the carrier of your word, the mirror of your intention, the medium that helps your body and mind agree. Florence said that every thought is a seed and every word a blueprint. The water gives those seeds a fertile place to take root and a current to carry them into manifestation. And there will be days when you feel tired, when the old doubts rise, when you wonder if any of this is doing anything. Those are the most important days to continue. Think of a stream wearing down a rock. It does not happen in one rush of water, but in countless small touches, each one seeming insignificant until the stone finally gives way. Your prosperity may be one sip away from breaking through the last layer of resistance. So, each time you lift that glass, know that you are not simply drinking, you are participating in an ancient covenant between the human and the divine, between thought and form, between desire and fulfillment. The water hears you. The law hears you. And soon, the world will see what you have been speaking all along. Florence Scovel Shinn often spoke of the necessity to seal the work once it has been done. To her, it was not enough to simply declare abundance or to visualize wealth. There had to be a spiritual act that anchored the new state so deeply that nothing could uproot it. The water ritual becomes, in this sense, both the planting and the sealing. Planting, because with each declaration over the water, you are placing a living seed of truth into the fertile field of your subconscious. Sealing, because when you drink it with awareness, you are bringing that truth into the very cells of your body, leaving no part of you untouched by the vibration of prosperity. Imagine your life as a vessel, an intricate jar that has been filled over the years with many kinds of waters. Some are clear and fresh, representing moments of joy, freedom, and ease. Others are murky, representing moments of fear, shame, and struggle. For most people, this vessel holds a mixture, and the taste of it is inconsistent. When you begin the water ritual with conscious intention, you are pouring out the old, stagnant waters and filling your vessel with a steady, pure current of abundance. And each day that you repeat it, the clarity grows. The taste of your inner life changes. You no longer sip from the bitter cup of lack. You drink deeply from the river of provision. This sealing process is not passive. It requires a deliberate act of agreement. Agreement, in spiritual law, is powerful. Florence taught that you cannot be robbed of that which is yours by divine right, but you can refuse to agree with it and thus block it. Many people unconsciously agree with lack by speaking words of limitation, or by reacting in fear when faced with financial choices. The water ritual trains you to break those agreements with lack and to renew your covenant with plenty. Each sip becomes a vow. I agree with abundance. I agree with ease. I agree with the open flow of wealth. One of the most profound aspects of this work is how it changes the way you feel about receiving. For those who have struggled for years, receiving can be uncomfortable. They may secretly feel unworthy, guilty, or fearful that the blessing will be taken away. This is why so many people sabotage their own breakthroughs. They have not yet sealed the belief that abundance is safe. When you drink water infused with the vibration of prosperity, you are not only affirming that wealth comes easily, you are teaching your body that it is safe to hold it, safe to keep it, safe to let it grow. There was a woman named Elise, a single mother who had spent years living paycheck to paycheck. Even when unexpected money came, a tax refund, a gift, a bonus, she would find herself spending it quickly, almost frantically, as if she could not bear to hold it. Deep down, she carried the belief that it was dangerous to have money because it could be taken away at any moment. When she began the water ritual, she decided to use the phrase, "It is safe for me to be wealthy. My wealth is protected by divine law." She repeated it morning and night, always with water in her hands, always drinking it slowly, as if sealing the words inside her. Within months, her relationship with money changed. She saved without fear. She invested without panic. Opportunities came that allowed her to create stable streams of income. But more importantly, the old anxiety was gone. She felt secure for the first time in decades. This is the hidden power of sealing. It transforms the nervous system. It moves the truth from being just an idea in your mind to being a felt reality in your body. And when your body agrees, your outer world must follow. Florence emphasized this often. Life is lived from the inside out. The law does not deliver what you want intellectually. It delivers what you are vibrationally. Drinking water that has been spoken over is a way of aligning your entire being, mind, body, and spirit into one frequency. You may also notice that this sealing process begins to affect other areas of your life beyond money. Because abundance is not limited to finances, the vibration you seal within yourself will begin to overflow into health, relationships, creativity, and peace of mind. The flow that water represents is universal. It does not discriminate. Just as a river nourishes every tree along its banks, the current of prosperity nourishes every part of your existence when it is allowed to flow unhindered. There will be days when the sealing feels almost ceremonial, when you can sense the power in the room shift as you speak over the water. On those days, do not rush. Give yourself the full experience. Hold the glass as if it were the very cup of life. Speak slowly, with authority. Let each word land. See the surface of the water shimmer with your intention. And as you drink, imagine it lighting up every cell, filling your veins with the frequency of wealth, flowing all the way to your fingertips and toes. Feel the gratitude before you see the result. That gratitude is the glue that seals the work. And when doubt tries to whisper, as it inevitably will, remind yourself that sealing is stronger than suggestion. Once a truth has been sealed in the spirit, no passing shadow can undo it. Shadows can only exist where light is absent, and the light you have poured into your water will keep your vessel full. Keep drinking, keep sealing. The day will come when you look around and realize that the blocks you once fought against have not only vanished, they have been replaced by a stream so steady, so generous, that you cannot remember the taste of lack. The water hears, the law responds. And your life, like a once dry riverbed, begins to run full again, sealed in prosperity, secured in divine order, and flowing toward even greater increase. There comes a point in this journey when the ritual is no longer something you do. It becomes something you are. At first, the water practice may feel like a conscious effort, something you remember to do each morning or night. But as Florence Scovel Shinn understood, repetition with presence turns a simple act into a sacred rhythm, and rhythm is the foundation of manifestation. Just as the tide moves in and out without hesitation, your practice must move with the same certainty until there is no gap, no missed beat, no wavering in your vibration. The mistake many people make is treating spiritual practices like temporary medicine, something they do only when they feel sick in their finances, anxious about bills, or desperate for change. They approach it as an emergency cure instead of a daily nourishment. But abundance is not sustained by bursts of faith, followed by long silences. It is sustained by steady, rhythmic agreement. This is why Florence emphasized the daily word, the daily decree, the daily alignment. She knew that the subconscious, like soil, does not flourish when planted once and then ignored. It must be watered daily. Turning this into an unbreakable ritual begins with setting an appointed time, a moment in your day that becomes sacred and untouchable. It might be first thing in the morning, before the noise of the world enters. It might be at night, when the day is complete and your mind is still. The exact time matters less than the consistency. When you show up at the same time every day, your mind and body begin to anticipate the shift. The moment your hands touch the glass, the field is already listening, already leaning toward your voice. Florence often spoke of the divine appointment, a meeting between your conscious mind and the infinite spirit. In your ritual, that appointment is the moment the water meets your words. When you keep that appointment faithfully, day after day, you build a bridge that grows stronger with each crossing. Eventually, it becomes impossible for lack to travel across it. only abundance can pass. One woman who practiced this for 90 consecutive days reported that not only did unexpected money begin to arrive, from rebates, overpayments, and even a forgotten inheritance, but her sense of self-worth transformed. She said, "I no longer feel like I'm asking for something outside of me. I feel like I'm activating what is already mine." This is the heart of the ritual, not to beg for wealth, but to awaken it. To make it unbreakable, it must be anchored in pleasure, not obligation. If your ritual feels heavy or like another chore, the vibration will weaken. Instead, surround it with beauty. Choose a glass or cup that feels special. Light a candle nearby. Play soft instrumental music or sit in silence, whichever makes you feel most aligned. Let the space itself remind you that this is a meeting of worlds, the visible and the invisible, the physical and the spiritual. Another secret is to mark your progress. Keep a small journal next to the place where you do the ritual. Each day, write the date, your chosen affirmation, and any feelings or images that came as you drank the water. Over time, you will see patterns. Certain phrases will carry more power. Certain days will feel charged with an extra current. You may even notice that outer changes begin to appear in waves that match your inner shifts. This tracking becomes its own form of evidence, proof to your mind that the ritual is working, which strengthens your faith and keeps the rhythm unbroken. There will be days when resistance shows up. You will feel too tired, too busy, too doubtful. Those are the most important days to do it anyway. Not perfectly, not with grand ceremony. Just do it. Even if you whisper the words with your last bit of energy, even if you sip the water in the dark because you cannot turn on the light, do it. Each time you override resistance, you strengthen the inner muscle that holds prosperity steady. Florence compared spiritual discipline to a ship holding its course through fog. The captain does not see the destination, but he trusts the compass and keeps moving in the same direction. Your ritual is that compass. On the days when you cannot see the results yet, keep speaking, keep sealing, keep showing up. The waters will clear. The law responds not to effort alone, but to unwavering agreement. When you make this practice part of the very structure of your day, like brushing your teeth, like eating, you remove the question of if and replace it with the certainty of when. You no longer wonder if abundance will arrive. You know it is on its way, because you are meeting it daily, halfway, with your words and your water. And here is where the magic deepens. When you commit to the ritual fully, without breaks, you begin to notice that your thoughts and choices throughout the day start to align automatically with prosperity. You spend differently, not from fear, but from wisdom. You speak differently, catching yourself before agreeing with lack. You carry yourself with a quiet authority, as if the current of wealth is already flowing under your feet. And it is. This is why making the water ritual unbreakable is not about superstition. It is about identity. Every day you do it, you are reminding yourself who you are, a vessel for divine provision, a steward of infinite supply, a magnet for right opportunities. And when you know who you are, the world responds accordingly. If you are listening to this now, understand that the ritual is not about the glass, the liquid, or even the exact words. Those are the tools. The real transformation comes from the steady rhythm, the refusal to break the chain, the decision to keep showing up for your abundance as if it were the most important meeting of your life, because it is. There is a truth that Florence Scovel Shinn understood deeply. Abundance is not only about attracting, it is about allowing. And allowing requires removing what blocks the flow. You can pour water into a glass, but if the glass is already full of stones, the water has nowhere to settle. The same is true for your prosperity. You may speak affirmations, perform rituals, and call abundance. But if the subconscious is filled with old agreements with lack, the flow will be obstructed. This is where the water ritual reveals its second power, not just as a magnet for money, but as a solvent for scarcity. Water carries memory, and when you imprint it with your words, you are also instructing it to carry away what no longer serves you. Imagine each sip as a river moving through your inner chambers, dislodging the debris of old fears, rinsing away the residue of past disappointments, carrying with it the sediment of unworthiness that has settled over years, perhaps decades. Many people do not realize that they are still living inside agreements they made unconsciously in childhood. Perhaps they overheard a parent saying, "Money doesn't grow on trees," and took it as absolute truth. Perhaps they experienced moments of shame in school for not having the right clothes or supplies. Perhaps they watched arguments about bills and silently decided that money always brings conflict. These invisible contracts remain active until they are rewritten. And water, when charged with a new decree, becomes the pen that writes the new law inside your being. Florence often described the subconscious as a loyal servant. It will carry out whatever orders it has been given, no matter how outdated or damaging they are. The only way to change its orders is to speak a new command repeatedly until it becomes the dominant one. In the water ritual, that command travels deeper because it is combined with the element that bypasses resistance. The body accepts water without question, and so it also accepts the vibration embedded within it. This is why drinking charged water daily can be more powerful than speaking affirmations into the air, because you are bringing the decree into your very cells. One man who practiced this ritual shared that in the beginning, he would often feel resistance rise up as he spoke over the water. Thoughts like, "This won't work," or "You're just pretending," would surface. But he kept going. And after weeks, he noticed that those voices grew quieter, replaced by a strange feeling of peace. He realized later that the ritual had been washing away the very skepticism that once kept him from trying anything consistently. By clearing that, the path for abundance was finally open. This cleansing is not always gentle. Sometimes, as the old agreements dissolve, you may notice memories surfacing, moments from the past when you felt powerless around money. Do not push them away. Instead, speak your decree with even greater clarity as you drink, imagining the water touching that memory and softening its hold. You may even visualize it breaking apart, like ink dispersing in clear water until it disappears entirely. In doing this, you are not denying your past. You are transforming its authority over you. Another important truth is that blocks are not always about money itself. They can be about identity. If deep down you believe you are someone who always struggles, who always has to just get by, no amount of outer opportunity will stick. The water ritual addresses this by embedding a new identity at the cellular level. Each day you drink, you are affirming not only "I receive abundance," but "I am the kind of person who lives in abundance." Over time, the mind begins to act in harmony with this identity, making choices and noticing possibilities that match it. As the ritual clears these inner obstructions, you will begin to notice subtle shifts. Bills that once felt heavy may arrive with less emotional charge. Unexpected expenses may be balanced by unexpected income. Situations that once triggered fear will now meet with a calm knowing that the supply is already on its way. This is the sign that the river within you is flowing freely again. Florence would remind her students that the law works both ways. If you feed it with fear, it will return fear. If you feed it with truth, it will return truth. The water ritual is your daily choice to feed it with truth. It is a deliberate act of replacing the stagnant pools of lack with the moving stream of prosperity. And the longer you keep the stream flowing, the more it carves a new path through your life, one that abundance can travel easily. Some people ask, but how do I know the blocks are gone? The answer is in your response to life. When challenges arise and you find yourself speaking the decree naturally, without effort, you will know the cleansing has reached its depth. When you no longer feel the old panic in your chest at the mention of money, you will know the stones have been removed from the glass. And when opportunities appear and you step into them without hesitation, you will know the river is clear. Remember, this is not a one-time purification. Just as water keeps a vessel clean only if it continues to flow, your inner clearing is maintained by the ongoing practice. Old patterns can try to return, like weeds in a garden. But with each day you meet the water and speak your decree, you pull those weeds before they can take root again. So as you lift the glass, know that you are not only calling wealth toward you, you are also making space for it to enter. You are washing the windows of your inner house so that the light of provision can pour in without obstruction. You are dissolving the invisible walls that once kept you separated from the good that has always been yours. And as the water moves through you, it carries the promise that every block is temporary, every shadow is clearable, and every day is a new chance to let the river run free. Once the inner river is clear, the flow of prosperity no longer needs to fight its way through debris. It moves swiftly, directly, as if it has been waiting for this very moment to pour into your life. Florence Scovel Shinn often compared the process to a gate being opened. The supply was always on the other side, but the latch had to be lifted from within. And now that it is open, the current begins to move with a speed that can feel almost miraculous. This is where the ritual of water shifts from cleansing to amplification. Every word you speak into it now resonates through you with greater force because it no longer has to push against resistance. Instead, it travels through clear channels, energizing every part of your being and broadcasting your decree to the field around you. Think of it as speaking into a microphone after the static has been removed. The sound is clearer, sharper, and carries farther. It is in this phase that coincidences begin to multiply. You might overhear a conversation that leads you to a profitable opportunity. A friend might unexpectedly connect you with someone looking for exactly the skills or product you offer. An overdue payment might suddenly arrive without you chasing it. This is not random. It is the universe responding to your clear signal. Florence would say, when the channels are clean, the answer travels swiftly. And now, with each glass of charged water, you are sending that signal out like a steady beacon. One woman who began this ritual noticed that her sales doubled in less than a month, not because she changed her marketing, but because she changed her energy. She described it as feeling magnetic to good fortune. She found herself naturally saying yes to offers she would have hesitated over before. She followed small nudges, sending a message, attending an event, speaking to a stranger, and those nudges often led to financial openings she could not have planned. The ritual had not only removed the blocks, but had tuned her inner compass toward prosperity. This amplification works because water is not just a passive carrier, it is a living amplifier. Once it has been charged with your decree, it keeps vibrating that frequency through you long after you drink it. It becomes part of your bloodstream, your cells, your breath. And because the body is over 70% water, the decree is echoed throughout you, turning you into a walking transmitter of your own prosperity statement. Everywhere you go, you are radiating the frequency you have chosen. The more consistent you are, the stronger the amplification. Florence warned that sporadic practice produces sporadic results. Just as a river gains power by flowing continuously, your decree gains power by being spoken daily without fail. Over time, you may find that you no longer need to force belief. It will feel as natural as breathing. The decree will become part of you, and your outer world will adjust to match it. It is in this stage that the speed of manifestation can surprise you. Something you thought might take months can arrive in days. This is because the field around you has already been prepared. The ritual has been clearing the way and building momentum beneath the surface. Once the blocks are gone, the momentum is free to break through, like a dam finally releasing its stored water. But here is a subtle truth Florence would often remind her students of. Abundance is not just about the arrival of money. It is about the readiness to receive it. Some people sabotage their own blessings because, deep down, they still feel unworthy or unprepared. That is why, in this amplification stage, it is important to also speak affirmations of worthiness, safety, and readiness into the water. You are not only calling the supply, you are also affirming your ability to hold it without fear or guilt. Imagine now that you lift your glass and speak. Money flows to me quickly, easily, and in ever-increasing amounts. I am ready to receive, and I use my wealth with wisdom and joy. As you drink, picture the water as light filling every cell, reinforcing not just the arrival of prosperity, but your capacity to manage and enjoy it. See yourself already living in that reality, paying for things without hesitation, giving generously without fear, saving without scarcity. Let the water carry that image as if it were the most natural state of your life. Florence believed that gratitude is the seal on manifestation, the act that tells the universe, "This is complete." That is why it is powerful to end your daily water ritual with a moment of pure thanks, not just for what has already arrived, but for what is on its way. Gratitude turns your decree from a request into a certainty. And when certainty is paired with a clean inner channel, the return is swift. You may notice that as you practice, your definition of wealth expands. It may begin with money, but it will soon touch other areas: opportunities, relationships, creativity, time. The same current that brings financial provision also carries solutions, ideas, and connections. You become a magnet for the resources that matter most to you, and those resources often create more money in ways you could not have calculated. This is the stage where some feel tempted to stop, thinking, "It's working now, I don't need the ritual anymore." But the wise keep going, knowing that the current grows stronger with each day it flows. Just as a garden thrives with regular watering, your prosperity thrives with regular charging. Each glass is another drop in the reservoir of your abundance, and the more you fill it, the more you can draw from it without it ever running dry. So when you take the glass in your hands now, do not just think of it as water. See it as an instrument of expansion. See it as the voice of your soul, amplified through the element that carries life itself. Know that with each sip, you are not only maintaining the flow, you are widening it, strengthening it, and inviting it to move faster. And as you move through your day, trust that the universe is already rearranging itself to match the frequency you have set in motion. Because at this point, the truth is simple. You are no longer chasing money. Money is chasing you. It is following the sound of your decree, drawn to the clarity and certainty that now live in your energy. And every time you meet the water, you remind the universe that the gate is open, the channel is clear, and the current is free to bring you more than you ever imagined. When the ritual of water becomes part of you, something shifts so deeply that it is almost impossible to return to the old way of living. You begin to see money not as a distant prize you must strain for, but as a faithful companion that walks beside you. The anxiety that once clouded your mornings lifts. The quiet shame that used to follow certain choices dissolves. And in its place comes a steady confidence, a knowing that the flow of provision is permanent because it has been anchored within you. Florence Scovel Shinn often reminded her students that the outer world is not the source, but the mirror. And now you can see it. The reason opportunities, unexpected payments, and generous gestures keep finding you is not because the world has suddenly changed, but because you have. You have become the embodiment of your decree. The ritual was the doorway. You have walked through, and the view on the other side is abundance without fear. In this closing phase, you no longer speak into the water as a request. You speak as a declaration, a royal decree that needs no convincing. The universe knows your voice now. It knows the frequency of your command, and every drop of water you charge carries that authority into the unseen, where it calls resources to gather in your favor. It is here that you may notice your influence expanding, not just in your finances, but in the lives you touch. People may come to you for advice, for encouragement, for inspiration. They may not know about your ritual, but they will feel the steadiness it has built in you. You have become a living well from which others can draw hope. And that is the true wealth Florence spoke of, a richness of spirit that naturally attracts the richness of life. You will also notice that you no longer cling to money out of fear. It flows in, it flows out, and the more freely it moves, the more it multiplies. Giving becomes joyful, not anxious. Investing in yourself becomes natural, not hesitant. Paying for something you love becomes a celebration, not a calculation. Because you now know that the flow is infinite, and the ritual is your daily reminder of that truth. If there is one final secret Florence would leave in your hands, it is this. Never let the ritual become mechanical. Keep it alive. Feel the words. See the images. Savor the water as if it truly is the elixir of your wealth, because it is. Let each sip carry not only your decree, but your gratitude, your joy, your expectation. That living energy is what makes the ritual more than a habit. It makes it a force. And as you walk away from this moment, I want you to carry one truth with you. You are no longer the person who once feared the bills, avoided invitations, or settled for less. You are standing on a higher rung of the ladder of divine prosperity, and from here, the view only widens. There will be new heights to climb, new blessings to receive, new generosity to pour out. But you will never again climb with empty hands. The flow is with you now, and it will remain. If this message has stirred something deep in you, if you feel the water calling to you as more than just a drink, but as a partner in your prosperity, then know that this channel exists to keep sharing these keys of divine law with you. You can help sustain this work, ensuring that these teachings continue to reach others who are ready to rise. If you wish, you can click on the thanks button, what YouTube calls valo de mai, to make a one-time gift from your heart. Or if you feel led, you can also become a channel member, joining a circle of supporters who make it possible for this work to continue flowing out into the world. Every act of support you give here becomes part of your own current of giving and receiving. Florence taught that what you send out returns multiplied, and so I speak this blessing over you now, that every coin you release in love comes back to you many times over, carrying with it joy, provision, and divine surprise. So take your water in hand one more time today. Speak your decree. Drink it as if it were the first time and the last time all at once. Feel it move through you, sealing the truth that wealth is your natural state. And then step into your day knowing that the gates are open, the river is flowing, and nothing can dam the current of your prosperity. Because you are not hoping for the flow. You are the flow. And from this moment forward, it will never stop.